Good afternoon. This is the Las Vegas Tribune. Well, yes, it is. Las Vegas Tribune is a publication that we put out every week, and it's full of good information. But it is also the Las Vegas Radio Tribune. So the Radio Tribune here in Las Vegas, we're located at 717 South 9th Street. That's right at the corner of Charleston and 9th. Now today, we're going to be talking about, well, obviously there's some information that just broke as far as Conway is concerned, and we're going to hit on that a little bit, and the fact that Romania has decided to come into the fold, and I think that's a very big thing, to step in the right direction. So, well, I'm talking about Romania. I'd like to point out that the reason I think it's a good move for them and a good move for us, is that we gain another ally, not necessarily from NATO, but someone who is going to be a complement to what we have. And during the conversation that I heard this afternoon, just a little while ago, as a matter of fact, Romania has suggested, when Russia came up, they said, collectively, we need to get together with them and at least start some dialogue. And I agree with that 100%, that we need to at least get the dialogue started, because we know that Russia is willing. But, you know, because there's been so many disruptions since Donald has taken office, that we don't know a lot of times whether we're coming or going. But true to his record, he's been holding up just like he said he would. And Conway, obviously, in his testimony, was found irresponsible, to say the least, and that he created havoc by putting out those memos that we believe that those memos weren't done at the time that the meetings took place, but were done afterwards, and they were fictitious, you know. And how can you say anything else? That he admitted that he wanted to try to get special prosecution going, and that he's the one that gave the leaks. Well, he went through his surrogate, you know, one of his buddies, and they leaked the news to the media, and then the media picked up on it right away. Well, that's not the way we're supposed to be doing things here in America, and that's not what we expect from people in high positions. Now, there can't be very many opportunities for people to serve as the FBI director. It's one person out of 330 million people that we have here in the United States. One person. Now, should we not expect honesty and loyalty, for that matter, from that person? Should he be politically inclined, or should he be non-political? In my view, he needs to be non-political. He needs to be on the side of law and order. And that doesn't mean you break the law by putting out false information or making up evidence as you go. That's not really politically correct. So I would say that as much as he may have been an asset to this country in the past, he certainly caused a lot of fury in the political arena and cost us a ton of money. What do you think that those senators and the assemblymen and all the other people and the witnesses that were called in come in for free? Don't we have to pay those witnesses to appear? Don't we have to pay the salaries of the senators or other administrators? And how can we waste that much time and that much money on a frivolous matter that, of course, is end up just exactly as that, frivolous? And if there's anybody to be charged, unfortunately, it looks like it would be Conway, because he may have obstructed the law. When I say, how could he obstruct the law? Well, it's real simple. He put it into place and put into motion false information that caused a crisis to occur. Now, the Patriot Act, it says anyone, any person who incites a civilian population is a domestic terrorist. So, you know, people need to be careful about what they say, what they do, and the consequences for inappropriate action. Did he think he could get away with it? Obviously he thought so, or he wouldn't have done it. Now, would you have done that? Would I have done that? Well, I think you have to look at all the circumstances and whether or not it's worthwhile for you to, you know, to do something like that. Basically, it was a scam. He led people to believe that there was substance behind the statements that he had made, when in fact there really wasn't anything at all. So I hope that as far as Conway is concerned, that we can turn another page, we can look down the road, and we can get on with the business at hand, which is protecting America. That's very important. Now back to Romania again. Romania, big nation, prosperous. They pay their bills. So we should have people like that as allies, not people who want to put the burden on the United States and the U.S. population in particular, because we have to pay those bills. You say, well, the government's paying them. Well, the government's paying them with our money. And so we're paying for it. And these trillion-dollar deficits that we have need to go away. Now, I'm not sure how to do it. I know how I would handle it. I simply tell everybody to get lost, we're starting over. And then I'd back it with gold. And that's exactly what I would do. But I'm just another pea in the pod. And unfortunately, our voices don't get heard often enough. When there's fresh meat on the table, they should come and get it. And there are many people with great ideas who can be an asset to America, to the citizens of this country. One of those things is the long transportation. Yes, now we're talking about transportation, high-speed transportation. They should have been enacted a long, long time ago, and we've had the ability to get that done. Of course, as our government has been such a spendthrift government, we haven't really had a lot of assets available to get the job done. But we always find room for projects out of this country. Money that should be spent here in the United States for the safety and welfare of this country. And there's a system out there that takes care of that infrastructure problem, creating 4 new lanes of highway, an electrified highway. So I'm going to explain a little bit about that. The electrified highway is for the explicit purpose of electric vehicles, which in this particular case, you can go from the East Coast to the West Coast without ever having to get off for fuel. And you would be driving an electric vehicle. Well, how important is that? It's important enough that we need to consider it. You know, there was a time when we had nothing but electric vehicles, more electric vehicles than gasoline. And then gasoline was so cheap, we converted over to the cheaper mode of transportation. But let me warn you, gas, oil are finite. We're taking it out of the ground at increasingly alarming rates. And can we say that it's not affecting the planet? Can we say that those holes that sometimes don't get filled are going to create sinkholes or worse, earthquakes? Well, although I'm not a geologist, I do know that when you empty out the sink, sometimes the sides fall in. And you don't have to be much of an expert to figure that out, because the earth does move, does shake. And the results of those shakes are huge, sometimes catastrophic earthquakes. Of course, we do have to consider the rest of the infrastructure, but the more important issue is that all that being said, we have enough energy here through the sun for all of our electrical needs. The sun produces enough energy in one day for the entire world. And why aren't we using it? Because we have oil, because we have gasoline, and it's been cheaper to do it. Well, it isn't cheaper to do it. Stop and think about it. We have a renewable source that we don't have to truck in. It's given to us as a gift of heaven. Yes. From the sun God. Yes, our Lord Jesus Christ. But the point is that if we don't take advantage of these, if we want to continue to deplete the natural resources we have on this planet and drive the price of those resources through the roof, then that's exactly what will happen. So we need to understand that we need to get all on the same page and make it a universal concept. You see, when we talk about climate change, what are we talking about? We're talking about carbon dioxide, and other gases and obviously parasitic chemicals and so forth that are in the air. And if we're going to make a real change in climate, then we really need to consider our modes of transportation and what we can do to cut down on the carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide. And as sure as I'm sitting here, there's only one positive way to get that done, and that's by using the powers we have available to us today through the sun. And it gets actually even deeper than that, because there's two major forces in the universe. Two major forces in the universe. Oh, there's another two minor. But the two major forces in the universe are gravity and electromagnetics. Oh, electromagnetics. Who said that? It must have something to do with electric. Yes, it does have something to do with electric. And if those are the two main forces in the universe, why are we using them to our benefit? Well, it's been proven that there are anti-gravity devices that are capable of using what's out there, and one of those forces is electromagnetics. So why are we wasting all this time and energy and money and driving up the prices of products when we could, in fact, turn it around? Turn it around. That's what we need to do. And I'm hoping that we can get on the same page with other countries and other continents and do just exactly that and deal with the climate control issue. There's nothing wrong with the Paris Agreement other than we are the major contributors and nobody else wants to chip in. And why should we bear the burden? If we're going to bear the burden, then there's going to be cost to other people. Why is it fair for them to be in the country club and not pay their dues? Well, it's just not fair. It's not fair. It's totally undesirable by this population, those people here in the United States, the citizens of America. They're the ones that are paying, and we should have the right to be able to ask other people to join in to help for prosperity and health. Yes, because the carbon monoxides and the carbon dioxides and all of those things are poisonous. And if you don't think so, sit in the garage someday and leave the car running. You'll find out very quickly just how serious that can be. And if you can imagine a world full of carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, and no place to run to, then maybe you'll understand the importance. Now, it's not as exciting as a baseball game or a football game or a boxing match not as exciting, but it's very important because you see, your very survival depends on your ability to live in a world that's healthy and clean. And it's up to us as individuals, as human beings, to deal with that. We have been given this wonderful opportunity in this earth, on this planet, of so many wonderful things. But if we don't take advantage of them, then who's to blame? I'm hoping, and it certainly is pointing in that direction, that Donald Trump is doing the right thing. He's made some very, very smart moves with the Paris Agreement, for example. By backing out, now we're getting some of the people to join in and pay their money. And if they don't pay the money, they should be kicked out. And that technology should not be shared with them. And it's the same thing with other facets of this nation that need to be dealt with. Be that immigration. Immigration is a big, big issue. Be it healthcare, another big, big, big issue. And when you combine those two, you have multiples. And if you don't think so, and if you don't think that there's a cost involved in dealing with those issues, not only is it a cost in dollars and cents and a demand on our supplies, because remember, prices are based on supply and demand. And the greater the demand and the shorter the supply, the more expensive it becomes. And you may think, well, gee, we're not running out of water. Gee, we're not running out of gasoline or oil or any of those things. And but have you noticed the price of tomatoes lately? Have you noticed the price of bread? Would you ever have imagined 30, 40, 50 years ago that 15-cent loaf of bread would be now $5? Or did you ever imagine that gasoline would go from 19 cents to $3? Well, it's happened. And it will continue to do that as long as we don't do something to create the opportunity with the options that are available, so that we can actually become not only the world's leader, but the world's smartest nation. And we can't do that with too much baggage. Too much baggage means the train is overloaded. And if the train is overloaded, it won't move forward fast enough. So, again, we have the choice. And what am I talking about when I say the train is overloaded? I'm talking about the fact that we are slowly but surely filling this country, and there's only so many people that can live on it successfully without causing the ripple effect throughout the economy. And there should be that, as our forefathers intended, these privileges extend to citizens of the United States, and not people who walk across or swim across the Rio Grande or come in from the northern border. It doesn't matter where they come from. It doesn't matter who they are. If they don't belong here legally, then they need to get out one way or the other. And if they don't want to go by themselves, if they can't be induced to go back and try again under legitimate circumstances, then we leave no option off the table. And there should be no option that is not considered. We had to do it in several of the wars that we've had, and we recognize the threat. And if you think we don't have a threat, I want to remind you about ISIS. I want to remind you about the Muslim, radical Muslim people. That even after vetting, thorough vetting, and people being given high clearances to get into government offices and everything like that. Yes, I am talking about San Bernardino. But those people were vetted, but it didn't stop them from fulfilling their goal and their aspiration and their belief. And it's more just like that. And yes, they have to be clever to attain that status, but they do it, and you can rest assured that it's happening all over America even yet today. As a matter of fact, when you go back and you look at our presidential contender, Hillary Clinton, and for years she had a Muslim caretaker or aide living with her. And you wonder, well, what was going on there? And then you wonder about Obama, Barack Obama, who, of course, has never truly admitted, I guess, that he's a Muslim, but in fact is. And I base that on a number of things that he did. For example, he created 93 acts against Christianity. 93 acts that he enacted into law here in the United States. All in the meantime, with all kinds of attacks taking place, including 9/11. Oh, yes, it wasn't on his watch necessarily, but it certainly was the result of Muslim activity. You call them radical extremists if you want to. The baseline is this: in order for them to be radical Islamic Muslims, they have to be Muslims first. They have to swear allegiance to Muhammad or Allah. And today we find ourselves in a great war with that invisible force, and it's Allah against God here for control in the United States. Allah against God for control of the United States, and they are doing a pretty successful job. How long can we allow it to continue? Should we wait until a city gets wiped out or a state gets wiped out, or a rogue nation decides to use EMP over the entire nation, and we lose 70–90% of the entire population in a period of 1 year? Sounds like, well, that can't possibly happen. No, neither can 9/11 happen. When there's a will, there's a way, and people find those ways. And even through our best efforts, there's no way to control 330 million people living in the United States, because we don't know the evil thoughts that lurk in the mind of man. We just don't know. So we're working with an invisible enemy. They don't identify themselves. They don't wear uniforms. They don't tell you that they're involved in these activities, because if they did, we'd close them down. So it's a very difficult situation for us. But it's really going to start by taking care of our borders. That's where we need to start first. We need to close the borders, and if we have to go through every single person living in the United States and vet them and do their background checks, what other choice do we have? Are they going to be able to attack us from... The good part is that, as far as we know, now there are rogue nations with nuclear warheads. And as long as we can keep those rogue nations at bay, we got half a chance. But if those warheads fall into the wrong hands, some way, shape, or form, and they're used on the United States, we're in big trouble. It doesn't matter that we have all this sophisticated equipment. We had all that sophisticated equipment when 9/11 occurred. We've had all that equipment available in San Bernardino, the Boston Massacre, and on and on and on and on. And although some of the other crimes that they have committed are in other countries, that is to say, Libya, Iraq, in England, in London, in other places around the world, South Africa, just on and on and on. They're out there. And they're doing everything within their power to destroy anybody who disagrees with Islam and Muslim law. So you need to think about what you can do for this country. Because without your help, we can't survive. And if we don't understand that open borders is nothing more than playing Russian roulette, then you're missing the boat. But what you don't want to be is on the boat when it has to pull out of America, because we simply did not pay attention. We have to pay attention. We have to understand that there are other peoples and other nations out there who would love to be here in the United States, who will do anything to get here and do anything to eradicate the people that are here, who made this country great, who gave up their lives in so many wars, starting with the American Revolution, Spanish War, the Civil War, one of the biggest wars and biggest loss of lives was the Civil War, with over 1 million people being lost. And that was brother against brother. Now, when you think about brother against brother and father against son, and you consider that we don't even have that in common with these Muslim radicals. We don't even enjoy the religion that they profess. So why is it that we can't connect the dots here? Why can't we connect the dots and do something that is going to change America forever, and at least 1,000 years into the future? Because that's what the Lord has promised to us. Yes, we have a different message for some of these religions, and that different message is that we have hope after life on this earth to be in union with our Father in heaven. They can't say that because their philosophy is based on a human being who, as I understand, wasn't necessarily your everyday citizen, who didn't really start to come alive until he started attacking. And yes, we've been in wars with the Muslims before, during the Crusades, and I don't want to say that, based on what I know about the Crusades, that they were politically correct. Sometimes you can't control everything and everyone, especially back though in those days when there was no real communication. We didn't have, back then they didn't have telephones, they didn't have telegraph or anything. They had to deliver messages by hand. It was very, very, very difficult to communicate back then. And as we understand it, there were some heinous acts that were committed by the Crusaders. But that's over. That's done with. That doesn't mean that it has to happen again in our lifetime. But it does mean that we have faced this enemy before. And they're back now in what I have to tell you in a more intelligent way. And we need to overcome it. So today is Friday, and it's just about time for the weekend. And I hope that you all have a joyous and prosperous weekend. And now that we've gotten written calmly off, and I believe that we have, if we haven't, he may suffer the consequences of his inappropriate actions. And that's the best way to say it. Inappropriate actions. Legally, I believe that there's room for a complaint, but I don't know. It depends when you evaluate what he did for the country and what he didn't do for the country and what he's done. It's difficult for me as a person to try to justify those actions because we all make mistakes, but most of the time we have to pay for those mistakes. And so, have a great weekend. I'm sure that there'll be more exciting news coming your way, our way soon. And I hope that we can survive not only the weekend, but as a nation. And that we do have the opportunity now, we have that opportunity to make America great again. And you should be proud of what Mr. Trump has done. And you ought to cut into the divisiveness of the Democratic Party, and either they get on board or, well, I don't know what you can do. Can you say disband? We've disbanded other groups and organizations. I think we disbanded the Ku Klux Klan and others. Why would this be any different? They get on board. They they need to pay the price. The price is not ours as Americans, as citizens who are patriots, for us to pay for anybody else's mistakes. So again, I say to you, remember that this is the Las Vegas Tribune, a weekly publication that you can find on the internet by going to the Las Vegas Tribune and reading information that you just won't get at any other place. And my name again is Blu Laker. This is Cobra USA radio program, but we emanate from the studio of Radio Tribune right here in Las Vegas at 717 South 9th Street, and that's at the corner of Charleston and 9th Street. So not a very big place, but hey, we would like to hear your comments. You can call us, you can stop by. If you want to call 702-743-8297. And this is Blu Laker. Have a great weekend. Talk to you the first of the week. Yeah, did you get it off? Are you down at the toe? I mean at the rental building? Are you down the street? Hello? Okay, hello. I got two CDs that I tried to run on my